if the wrong person wants to misuse the system, there are a lot of levers that politicians can use in the US to impact on the system.
President Trump says the indictment of former FBI Director James Comey is justice in America, in capital letters. The two of them have had a pretty acrimonious relationship for many, many years. James Comey is being charged with lying to Congress. So as President Trump wages war on his enemies, what is the level of concern on this? And I suppose, Jack, one of the things is that Trump has always talked about doing this. In fact, it led to President Biden preemptively pardoning some people on his way out of office. Should we be concerned? And I guess as an extension of that, what actually can we do about it, if anything?
Well, I remember going to the States a couple of times in my 20s and 30s, studying the system of government there, as we were looking at constitutional change in Scotland and debating ideas in opposition back in the day. And I remember being very impressed by one aspect of the American system, which was the separation of powers between president and Congress, between governors and state legislatures, between local mayors and town and city councils, because it created a check and a balance in the system that I thought was very healthy for politics. But I also remember being really surprised by, and in fact almost shocked by, the politicization of the legal system, by the appointment of so many people in the legal system, straight political means, but also the election of people in the legal system, which then allowed it, I think, to be corrupted is not the right word, but damaged, I think, in reputation by the idea that people would be chosen for what they were saying rather than necessarily for their proven legal abilities. And I think this is a logical conclusion to that problem, really, that if the wrong person wants to misuse the system, there are a lot of levers that politicians can use in the US to impact on the system. Thankfully, as Coney has said overnight in his video, that ultimately he will be in front of a jury in a court and he'll get a chance to make his case, and he believes in the fairness of that part of the system. But the years that this has taken and the way in which it is possible for politicians in the US to prod their way into the system, to appoint people who might then carry out vendettas on their behalf, I think is very disturbing. And it's not so much that this is taking away American freedoms, it's that American freedoms are open to abuse like this. And to be honest, I'm not sure how they change that, because it's been such an integral part of the system for so long that I think it would be very hard for somebody to come in and depoliticize the legal system in the sort of way that we experience it.
Yeah. Nikki, is there a role then for, tell us if you agree or disagree with Jack, of course, but is there a role then for allies to call this sort of thing out, to question why this is how it works?
So, I think the point that Jack makes, which is that the US legal system and the sort of political involvement in it is so different from this country. Having said that, we were heading towards it just a little bit, which is sort of really disagreeing with the judges, criticising them, having headlines, saying that they'd made wrong decisions and all the rest of it. We seem to have veered away, fortunately, again from that in this country. We certainly don't have the level of political involvement in appointments that they have in the US. It is difficult. I think for allies, in the sense that we can all have our own views. I think there's a real we all feel instinctively uncomfortable about the idea of prosecuting people that are seen as political opponents. We don't think that's what happens in an advanced democracy. But equally, it is something that is clearly very domestic, and I think it's probably something that it would be difficult for allies to get involved with. It's really interesting. I messaged a friend this morning, actually, in the States. I've never asked her. I assume she was a Trump voter last year, and I said, "Isn't this very chilling?" And the stream of invective that came back against the Biden administration, what they did, how they did similar things, and everything else was absolutely extraordinary. And I think that probably sitting here, we have kind of no idea just how polarized this sort of thing really is in the US, because we just don't have it in the UK.
You're not questioning your friendship now, are you, Nikki, with that person?
Well, politics and friendship are often tough bedfellows. I think we just probably have to agree.
Oh, is that a
not to talk about
politician? Oh,
politics.
right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. Is it Marjorie Taylor Greene? No, I'm not going to do that.
Stop it, Callum.
My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid, and I hope you're not either. I hope instead you are engaged, you are paying attention, and you will vote like your beloved country depends upon it, which it does. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial and keep the faith.
And process, and as you said, we have an opportunity here.
It seems like an indictment of James Comey is imminent. Would this be the first step in accountability for pushing the hoax of Russia, along with Barack Obama involved as well?
Well, I can't tell you what's going to happen because I don't know. You have very professional people headed up by the Attorney General, and Todd Blanche, and Lindsay Halligan, who's very smart, good lawyer, very good lawyer. They're going to make a determination. I'm not making that determination. I think I'd be allowed to get involved if I want, but I don't really choose to do so. I can only say that Comey's a bad person. He's a sick person. I think he's a sick guy, actually. He did terrible things at the FBI. And but I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen. And we've had tremendous relationships, both having to do with...
Be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Thank you very much. As the old saying goes, for somebody as famous as you don't need any introduction, so I'm going to just introduce you as Director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. But to once again, thank you for being here today.
Director Comey, could you pass on to your agents and all support personnel?
Look, this was terrible. It makes me mildly nauseous to think that we might have had some impact on the election. But honestly, it wouldn't change the decision. Everybody who disagrees with me has to come back to October 28th with me and stare at this and tell me what you would do. Would you speak or would you conceal? And I could be wrong, but we honestly made a decision between those two choices that even in hindsight, and this has been one of the world's most painful experiences, I would make the same decision.